In this episode of the MAMA podcast, we are joined by Kate Mortimer, midwife and counsellor for the MAMA Academy Rainbow Pregnancy Helpline, where we explore the needs of parents expecting again after a previous loss, the helpline itself and how to access it, plus all the other ways in which we support rainbow parents throughout the UK. Hi, Kate. Thank you so much for joining us on our MAMA podcast. We've known each other, a long time now, probably about 7 years, do you think?
At least, probably near 9.
Yeah, it must be. So it's just so lovely to have you here and for you to talk about the pregnancy helpline. And obviously we've got Marisa as well.
Hi. It's our first time meeting, Kate, but I'm really looking forward to this discussion, all the good work that you've been doing with MAMA Academy.
Yeah, so Kate, tell us all about you and your midwifery degree and what you're up to at the moment.
Sure. So you and I first met when I was actually a student midwife, I think, at the time, and you were in the middle of the wallet campaign and trying to get that out and getting the wallets into trusts and I can't really remember where I first came across you or the wallets, but I just remember thinking, what an amazing thing that it was to do, and learning more and more about the charity and and the work that you were doing just really kind of spoke to me as a student and definitely shaped the training that I did and the midwife that I wanted to be. To become so I graduated 2016. So since then I've worked across kind of labour ward and postnatal wards and in community, and that's pretty much where I've been really for the last sort of few years, has been working as a community midwife across sort of variety of looking after different people, and that's all. I'm up in North Yorkshire at the minute, but I am from London originally. That's where my home is. So yeah, that's me.
You do quite a bit of commuting as well, don't you, back and forward?
I do, yeah. So having moved up to Yorkshire to have my first daughter, she has now returned to London to study. So yeah, I'm back and forth. I spend a lot of time on the A1.
Oh, so how long have you been up north for then? Quite a long time.
20 years.
Oh wow.
I know, it's a long time.
It is, yeah, completely different lifestyle compared to London.
Yeah, totally. It was fine for when my girls were younger, but where we live is quiet. So now that they're a bit older, it's a bit boring for them where we live. So yeah, I can see why the lure of the big city appealed.
And aren't you really busy at the moment because you're doing a master's and you've got lots of different qualifications and you're about to embark on a new role in a scanning clinic, I believe?
Yeah, so we're not set up yet for that, so we're just still getting going. But yeah, so lots of different hats basically that I wear all the time, and that's okay. That keeps it, for me, that's good. There's variety, and I do lots of different things. But yeah, some days it's a bit, what do I need to do? I have to have a really good app on my phone to keep me structured about all the different things that I need to do and when. And yeah, including I'm doing a master's level qualification as well, just to add on something extra to keep me busy.
My gosh, that's a lot of juggling, a lot of multitasking. And what diplomas have you got?
So I have a couple of diplomas. I have one in aromatherapy, and then I have one in grief and bereavement counselling. So those are the two that I have on top of my degree.
And I really wanted to talk about the Rainbow Pregnancy Helpline because obviously you are our midwife behind that. So tell the listeners all about the Pregnancy Helpline that we've just launched.
So the pregnancy helpline is open to anyone really, and when we first sort of talked about doing it, we kind of we really weren't sure quite what response we might have, and whether we would be suddenly overwhelmed. And we sort of looked initially at keeping it small, but now we've been able to really sort of open it up to anybody that's experienced a pregnancy loss and feels that they need a little bit of extra support. So in terms of the helpline, it's available 24/7, but we're not staffing it, so people can ring in, leave a message, and we get back to them per conversation as and when suits them. But at the minute, for as long as they need to talk through, and it might be that they just want some early pregnancy advice, or they're thinking about pregnancy and not sure how they're going to navigate their feelings, or it might be that they need regular continuous support throughout the pregnancy. And it's not that, you know, ideally people will have a really good relationship with a midwife and potentially an obstetrician as well, and we're not trying to take anything away from that. You know, obviously there is lots of evidence that having that good relationship with their care providers is really important, but sometimes just having somewhere external that you can just pick up the phone and speak to somebody different who doesn't necessarily know you that well but is able to just listen can be a really, really important part of navigating a subsequent pregnancy.
And how did you, oh sorry Heidi, I was just going to ask, how did both of you come together to set that up in the first place? Because it sounds like it's, you know, obviously a wonderful initiative and benefiting so many people.
Well, I first heard of the need through another bereavement midwife, actually, and it was a year ago. It was during Baby Loss Awareness Week in October, and I was discussing the needs with this bereavement midwife in Hampshire, and so she was telling me, you know, it would be great to have this service where parents that are expecting again after a loss can ring up and get that extra support, because NHS services are on their knees at the moment, you know, and a lot of bereavement services don't have the time or the budget to be able to support parents in that way. So they have extra appointments, perhaps, that are medical appointments to do extra scans and speak to a consultant, but there's not that sort of counselling support in between. And when I was speaking to some bereaved parents, they were saying, you know, to go onto a waiting list to access counselling can take months and months. So that's why I approached Kate, because I'd known her for so long, and I knew about her diplomas and all the great things she was doing in her career. And so I approached her and said, would you like to help me set up this Rainbow Pregnancy Helpline? So with the help of a grant, we were able to launch it earlier this year.
That's great. And I can imagine those hurdles as well that people might have to go through if this wasn't available can end up putting people off, so they just never get that support that they need.
I think as well, a lot of early pregnancy is quite difficult, because even if you're on you know, an enhanced care pathway because of a previous loss, you're not necessarily going to get much care in the earlier part of pregnancy. It tends to sort of step in sort of third trimester. So the first and second trimester can be really, really tough in terms of not having access to much support and not necessarily seeing a midwife or a clinician very much. And so that kind of leaves people a little bit sort of exposed, and you know, we're not necessarily going to be able to give them the answers that they're looking for, but being able to explore how they're feeling and talk that through can make a big difference.
Yeah.
I remember when I was pregnant again, I just felt so lost, because I had to go back into that hospital, back into those antenatal rooms, and it was very much deja vu. It was extremely scary. Having to have a scan was just the worst thing ever, you know, because I just, every time I would look at the screen, I just, you know, I didn't think there was going to be a heartbeat there, you know. But you get yourself through that initial appointment, and then you walk away and you come home, and that's when all the trauma sort of comes out, and you think, how can I do this? How can I get through tomorrow? You know, it's just so hard, and you never feel like you're going to bring a baby away at the end of the 9 months. You know, previously you went into hospital, well, I went into hospital and came out with about a bunch of flowers, you know. It's a really hard time, and you feel like no one understands. Who am I going to talk to about this? People want to talk to you about your next pregnancy because it's hope, and they want to be positive, and they're like, oh, you're pregnant again, this is really exciting, and they want to talk about this new baby. But for me personally, I didn't want to talk about the new baby because I just couldn't picture bringing them home again. It's very difficult, and you don't want to feel as if you're betraying the baby that you lost. That was very much an emotion that I went through. I didn't want Aidan to think that I'd forgotten about him because I was now pregnant again with the next child. Grandparents might want to be getting excited, but you just can't. It's just a real mix of emotions. But it's also important to try and prepare yourself for the next pregnancy, because it was successful. I then had my son Tobiah, and then I'm like, oh my gosh, I've got a baby. What do I do now? So it's really important to have those conversations with someone who understands, because you do actually need to prepare yourself for when you do bring that baby home, because otherwise you can experience all sort of postnatal depression, etc. So I think this helpline is really invaluable for parents, just to have an outlet, to have somewhere to talk about the baby that they've lost, and also talk about this new baby without feeling guilty.
I think as well, when you're picking up the phone to somebody, it's not the same as being sat in front of somebody where you feel potentially that you could let your guard down a little bit more and explore thoughts that sometimes feel difficult to say when you're sat in front of somebody. And a lot of the times people have been expressing the things that you've just said, and also kind of feeling that nobody really understands why they would feel that way, and that they should be excited, and they don't understand why they're not. And it's exploring sort of emotions that might feel difficult to talk about in other ways, in other circumstances. I know some people have sort of described feeling almost like a new sort of bereavement, because they've realised that this pregnancy isn't going to be a fun one. It's not going to be an enjoyable experience. They're not going to enjoy the baby showers and all the things that kind of they were looking forward to first time round. And it's like a new bereavement of kind of those nice feelings, and I'm never going to enjoy a pregnancy. And sometimes it's hard to sort of talk about those things and say those things to your care providers, and that's why I think the helpline is a really nice sort of place for them to kind of explore some of those things that might otherwise be difficult to do.
Yeah, I wish it was available when I was going through a subsequent pregnancy again as a lifeline, because I remember being at work. I went back to work, and people knew I was pregnant again, but another colleague suddenly announced their pregnancy, and I found that really hard. And then someone else had just had a baby, and they brought the baby in for everybody to see. And I just couldn't at that time. It was just too soon for me. It was, I found it very hard. So I had to go and hide in the toilets. And it's moments like that, when you come home and you just wish you could pick up the phone and speak to someone and say, look, I feel so alone here. No one understands. I don't want to feel bad for that person that's just had a baby. I don't want to put a downer on their joy. But at the same time, I just need somewhere to release my grief. So yeah, I wish that it had been available for moments like that. And they take you completely by surprise as well. They really do. So has there been any other struggles that parents have come to you with?
I mean, a lot of the time it's the recurring themes, and it is the things that you've said, and like I said about kind of that grieving that pregnancy, but lots of feelings of kind of guilt that isn't warranted, but it doesn't mean it doesn't exist and it's not valid, is it? And it's feeling that people that they can express that they feel guilty, or that they don't want to hear about other people's pregnancies, and it's that they're not being selfish, or any other feelings that might they might perceive about how they're feeling, and sort of being able to share that with me is quite a common theme, I think. Kind of being able to say, this is kind of how I'm feeling, and I know I'm probably being selfish, but this is what I need to do. And I guess that's a key part of it, is kind of this is what I need to do, is it okay? And that's, sometimes it's just that validation of how you're feeling. Those are some of the key sort of themes that we get, really.
Yeah, you don't. I think in times of grief, I think your family and friends try and fix things. Whereas I can imagine speaking to someone almost anonymously, you don't know them, just allows you to say how you really feel, rather than put on a brave face. And all of the circumstances you've described, Heidi, must be so difficult.
Really hard, because you want to honour the baby you've lost. You want to keep their memory alive. That's very much important. But you learn over time as to when it's appropriate and when it's not. Because people would say to me, oh, have you got any children? Or how many children have you got? And that's always such a hard question. But then you think, well, if it's the checkout lady that's asking me in Tesco's, she notices my bump and she says, oh, is this your first? It's best just to say yes, and pack your shopping up and move away. There's no point in getting into an emotional conversation with the checkout lady. However, if it's someone that's more meaningful and someone that you think you're going to see again, etc., then you might feel safer to open up to them and say, well, actually, this is my second, my first child, passed away, or he's in heaven, or however you want to describe the situation. And then really it's down to how safe you feel with that person, and sharing the circumstances and what happened. It is a really hard situation to be in, and it's hard to find other people that understand what you're going through, and even now, I've had 2 other children, and if someone was to ask me that question, sometimes I say, oh, well, actually I've got 3, but one isn't with me anymore. Because time has gone on and I feel able to talk about him now. But that's why we have the Carry Their Names campaign each year, so parents can remember and honour their babies, and they have hearts that they collect and they take to different places where their babies never got to go. And the campaign's lovely because lots of siblings can get involved in that as well, and obviously dads can get involved with that, and grandparents, etc. So yeah, it's knowing how to talk to those siblings about that baby as well, so we always celebrate Aiden's birthday every year. We do something with the children, take them to Legoland or the zoo or whatever, and we celebrate his birthday because we just want to remember him.
Nice.
Yeah. And that's something that has come up on the helpline, actually, is how do I make my other child part of this pregnancy? And like you say, it can be really difficult to kind of navigate that kind of, should I keep things separate? How do am I betraying this child with this pregnancy? And I can't open up the memory boxes and things that I have now I'm pregnant again. And there's no right or wrong response. There's no right or wrong way to deal with it. But what we can do at the helpline is kind of talk that through a little bit and explore some of those feelings, and try and find a way forward that that doesn't necessarily make things better, but make somebody able to sort of moving through and navigating those feelings a little bit more.
For me, because Aiden was my first, I didn't have that challenge of having to explain to the sibling, that their baby brother or sister's died, and I mean that must be absolutely horrendous. And then when you're pregnant again, how do you explain to that child that this baby isn't going to die? That must be so hard. I know on our website we have a book called There's a Rainbow Baby in Mummy's Tummy, so that helps explain things to children, because I can't imagine what children must think, all the emotions that they must go through if they lose a sibling. That must be so hard. But that's why it's important to keep their memory alive, I think. You know, my children love talking about Aidan, and they show their friends his hand and footprints, and they always explain about him, even though they never met him. He is part of the family, and I think that's really important. It's important to us to do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And do you get many calls to the helpline, or do you support parents looking to try for a new baby after suffering from a loss as well?
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, I think everybody is going to have a very different reaction to even thinking about a subsequent pregnancy. You know, for some people, the idea is just not even on their radar that they would even want to think about having another baby. And some people, they want to get pregnant really quickly, and there's no, you know, it's very personal. But I think for a lot of people, what they are unclear about is what their care might look like in a subsequent pregnancy, and there may be a lot of anxieties around that. And because we cover the whole of the UK, and every trust is different and every personal circumstance is different, I can't necessarily say to somebody, well, this is what you'll be offered and this is how it will be. But we can explore what it might look like, how they would go about accessing the care, their options, you know, whether they might want to return to the same hospital, whether they would like to look at a different hospital. For some people, that, you know, the familiarity of going back to the same place is important to them. For some people, it's just not an option to go back to the same place. And just knowing that they can do that they can make those choices is really important. It's sort of just giving back a bit of control, and removing some of that anxiety. And we can explore on the helpline, you know, the things that might be triggers, that might be difficult, that might be a hurdle, and not necessarily removing them, but certainly looking at how that person might be able to get through them, and what they could request in terms of, you know, from their care providers, such as being seen at a, you know, different room or different person, or extra scans at particular times, you know, all those things that they could ask for. You know, we could make a sort of a bit of a plan and explore that together. And some of it might just be about coping strategies and how they're going to get through all these hurdles as they go along. And for some people, it's hard to think, you know, about each hurdle all the way down the line, and it's about each individual little one, and that's okay. You know, we can do it either way. Some people need to know exactly how they're going to do the whole pregnancy, and some people need to just work through one bit at a time, and that's what we're there for, really, is to try and explore some of that as well.
Thank you. And most importantly, I mean, we'll put this as well within the podcast information and stuff, but how can people reach the Rainbow Helpline?
So there is a phone number, and it's basically a case of ringing up. The phone line is open 24/7 in terms of being able to access it, but it's not staffed. So it goes through to a voicemail facility where you'll hear Heidi's lovely voice, and you just need to leave a message just telling us, you know, how to contact you, when you'd like us to contact you, and as much information as you want to give us at that point, and then we will just ring back at the earliest opportunity, to either speak then or to book in a time to have a conversation.
Great. And we'll include details.
Sorry, I'm just thinking all the details are on our website, but the phone number to call is 0203 6428 121. And if midwives want flyers, we've got lots of flyers that the community midwives or bereavement midwives can hand out to their rainbow parents, and then, you know, they can take that flyer away, put it on their fridge, and then call us when they feel ready to.
Excellent.
And I think that's a key thing, actually, Heidi, is you know, we're trying to raise awareness, but it's kind of keeping that awareness up. Somebody might have been given a flyer at some point, and then forget about it, and they don't know how to contact us, or you know, a midwife mentioned it to their friend 3 months ago, but not they don't know. So yeah, we do need midwives definitely, and doctors to just keep sort of putting the word out and saying this is an extra service, that might be useful.
Thank you so much. Before we close, I think just one last question to you, Heidi. What else is MAMA Academy doing to support rainbow parents?
So we obviously have our Carry Their Names campaign that I mentioned earlier, but we also provide stickers for parents to alert the healthcare professional that they've had a previous loss. And they can be put onto a pregnancy passport or a MAMA Wellbeing wallet. Again, they're all available on our website, and the wallets and the passports notify parents about certain signs and symptoms to look out for, and they really encourage parents to call their midwifery team if they've got any concerns or problems at all. We have some rainbow pregnancy bundles on our website, which is part of the Fly Mama corporation. So they can have a look at them and have a look at those bundles to see if they think that would help them during their pregnancy. We've got Carry Their Names t-shirts, so you can have your baby's name printed on a t-shirt as part of our Carry Their Names campaign. And obviously we're part of Baby Loss Awareness Week in October. There'll be lots of awareness posts that parents can share during that week. And we're currently looking into designing a bespoke MAMA Wellbeing wallet for rainbow parents, which will have different things on it and different things inside about mindfulness activities, anxiety toolkits, that sort of thing. So that will be coming soon. So yeah, there is different support, and there's lots of information on our website under the baby loss section as well.
Amazing, thank you so much. I think between you're the super duo. What you've managed to achieve on the Rainbow Helpline is incredible, and the support that you're providing to so many parents. Thank you. And thank you for the podcast today. It was really nice talking to you both.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you, Kate, for joining us.
Pleasure.
Yeah, thank you, Kate. And we hope to have you back at some point on series 2, maybe.
Ooh.
Take care.